epoxy lightsaber. Okay, we're mixing the epoxy up. We'll see how this works. Kind of worked last time. Problem last time was that there was way too many bubbles. Okay, we're going for no bubbles. We'll see. Probably not going to work out great, but we're going to try. We got the mold all set, ripping ready to go. That's what we're going to pour into. I've already made one of these lightsabers, but the first time there were bubbles all over the place. I didn't put enough pigment in, yada, yada, yada. It looks fine. It's not as cool as I wanted it to be, so we're going again. Okay, we're using the Lathe Resin deep pour epoxy. Get that nice 2-inch depth pour so this thing doesn't explode. And hopefully all the bubbles release this time. We're gonna get a sick overhead view of this though. For this pour, we are going to be running with some black diamond pigments, cobalt blue and golden indigo. Black Diamond, please sponsor me. Absolutely love working with this stuff. Does a great job of adding really clean color, but it also throws in like this really deep lustery effect, especially for these deeper pours. You can really see kind of the shimmer and the waves that it creates once it sets up in there. Now that we have everything all mixed up, we are ready to pour. For this one, I wanted to leave a bit of an opening near the top of the blank so that it was just straight up epoxy. Stick around to see why that was a bit of an issue. But it also did add a cool area where there's just straight epoxy in there and there's no actual wood, so you can really see that pigment popping through. 4 days later, nope, 3 days later, we are ready to unmold. So we get to take this bad boy out of the silicone. Okay. So last time we had a ton of problems with bubbles forming. Looks like it's gotten a little bit better. I decided to hot glue the wood down so that there would be less formation that would be floating around, but we'll see. We'll see. So at this stage of the game, all we're looking to do is take down these corners and get this whole blank nice and round so we can rough in that nice lightsaber shape for that final design. For the most part, we got the rough shape done up in there. Now we're gonna punch a tenon in on this side. See, there's still some bubbles, but we're doing better. We're getting through them. I think once we get down to the meat of the project, we're gonna be okay. Might be some, but here's what the fuck it is, dude. I always get questions asking why I'm adding these tenons when I already have the piece mounted between centers. The main reason for that is if I can throw this thing in a 4-jaw chuck, I'm going to have a lot more success keeping it stable for longer. And then I'm also not going to have to worry about potentially slipping off those centers and having to re-dial the entire piece. That's what I like to do in all my lightsaber builds. Basically, all I'm doing is laying out the different sections of what I want to see in the final lightsaber. You got the pommel, the hilt, the emitter, right? I want to make sure those are all spaced out correctly so it doesn't look all wonked out. Now we're coming in with the skew chisel to get this emitter portion looking pretty. I really like this tool. It allows me to get into some tight areas and create some cool concave and convex shapes. Works perfectly for something like this. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is where shit starts to hit the fan. You're going to see me get a nice catch here in a second with my circular carbide insert tool right there. Yep, you can see, roughed it up. And this is where I realized that this piece is getting a little bit off center. Something's getting a little wonky. So it looks like we've ran into a little bit of a roadblock. Okay, it looks like it's getting a little wobbly. So it's about 95 degrees outside, hot as hell in the garage. So I decided to put the thing in the freezer just for a little bit to help it cool down. Okay, let it get a little bit of structure back to it. You know, here's the deal. I don't know if that's going to do absolutely anything, but I'm going to give it a go. Throw it back on the lathe once it cools down, see if it stops wobbling as much. We've got it remounted now. This is the part that's kind of giving us issue. And it makes sense thinking about it. There's only a very little bit of wood coming through, and I'm not entirely in love with this epoxy, so I think it's a little bit softer and weaker than it should be. But can't really tell now, but once it was hot and I was working on this area, this whole thing was freaking wobbling up and down. So I'm going to continue to work on the back here and then save this little middle section for the end so that I'm not over stressing it. I might throw it back in the freezer for a couple more minutes once we get down here, but the process is processing. We'll see if this bad boy turns out or not. Don't worry, I know what you're thinking. Is this a lightsaber or is this a marital aid? Here's the deal. You can use it for both. No, in all seriousness, it's pretty hard when working on a lathe to get something that doesn't look like various phallic shapes. Just kind of is what it is. Now, it may not look like it, but this was definitely the scariest part of this build for me. Remember when I was talking about that thinner part causing the wobble? When I was running that roughing gouge over that, I thought the whole thing was going to snap in half. That's why you see me switch to this different tool to really work on it bit by bit, so there's less of that wobble, less of the chance that the thing's going to fully explode on me. We've got most of the rough shape done up. Gonna have to head to sanding now, but just kind of showcasing what happens once it gets hot. Just a little bit of pressure on this end. A lot of play, a lot of give. It's not the easiest thing to tell on the screen, but I can guarantee you it's freaking moving quite a bit. So it's just coming because this was stupid. I shouldn't have done the smallest point that early, right? I probably should have shaped out the rest of the handle, you know, done all the little details, and then kind of gotten to the nitty gritty. Such is life. You live and you learn, you get better. But yeah, I think this is the issue that we're having right now with it kind of causing it to bow. Luckily, when sanding, you don't apply all too much pressure to any specific area. So there's not much of a worry about things going awry at this point. But I just had to rough in that shape. As you can tell, a lot more smoothness. Got all those machine lines out of there. And now we are moving on to the dreaded wet sanding. I dry sanded all the way up to 600 grit, and now I'm going to go through 1,000 by 1,000 increments all the way up to 12,000 to give that epoxy that beautiful shiny effect that you see there. Then get to use the best product in woodworking, Yorkshire. We use some Yorkshire grit abrasive paste, which is basically beeswax and some other oils mixed with a very, very fine grit that's going to basically polish the rest of this saber up to a beautiful, beautiful finish. However, we will be going back in with some Mylan's friction, high build polish that is going to give it that final pop of color and then also add some good protection. What's really important when using this stuff is that you get it all over your piece and then you go back through and apply that friction and build up a little bit of heat on every little spot so that it hardens and then it becomes really shiny and really, really beautiful. Wow. And there we have it. Look at this thing shining in the sunlight. I really love how the epoxy became slightly transparent and you can really see those termite lines that were left from those bugs eating up that wood that we covered in epoxy. Badass in my opinion. Boom. And there we have it, our finished product. Right? I think it turned out pretty damn cool. Definitely still got some bubble issues. Some stuff I definitely want to change and clean up regarding especially this top part and having to put the damn thing in the freezer for 45 minutes over the course of this whole project. But I'm glad that that the changes we made worked. It's badass, dude. Got the two-handed hilt design. I did end up making a little stand for it. Just drill the hole in the bottom so I can insert this nail. Hole in the board. Board's just a piece of shit. I just wanted to kind of use it as a proof of concept, make sure this would work. But yeah, you just throw the nail through the board, throw the nail into the saber, and you got a little stand. You can spin it however you want to present the piece, right? It's just something cool, something nice to tie the whole thing in together. Obviously, if this was something I was keeping long term, or if it was something I was selling, I would make a better stand. But just a little proof of concept, see how that worked. If you stayed for the whole video, you're still here. This is the sneak peek on this next one that we're going to be digging into. A little two-tone, with a little bit different process using the wood inside. A lot more little pieces, so we'll see how that kind of turns out. But if you enjoyed the build, please subscribe, like, follow, do all that shit. We're going to be making cool stuff over and over again here. Biggest thing with what we're going to do on this channel is it's all going to be fucking experiment, right? We're going to see how this works, if this looks cool, if this works. Flying by the seat of my pants, so we'll figure this out as we go on. If you got any suggestions on stuff we should try, different ideas for lightsabers, different kind of pours with epoxy and different colors and mixing those two mediums together, freaking drop it down low. Okay, I'll read all them boys. I'll be sure to respond back to everybody. I appreciate you guys. Yeah, have a good one. It's all love, man.